Today we're talking about grafted roses. In the past, rose growers and hybridizers would find that they could get a really pretty rose, but the plant didn't grow very well. The root system wasn't vigorous, and so the top wasn't growing very well either. There's always a balance between the top and the bottom of a plant. The bottom sends up the water and nutrients, and so if it's not very healthy, the top won't be healthy either. The top has all the food production, and so if it's not growing very well, you don't get a very big root system. So in the past, rose growers have found a beautiful rose on a plant that wasn't growing very well, found that they could graft it onto a vigorous root growing plant and get a hybrid plant that was both good in the bottom and good on the top. So like in this case with this Gertrude Jekyll rose, you can see where the root system is growing here, and there's a stalk coming up from the root system, and then on the side of it is a cluster of branches. That's where the bud was grafted on and a new plant grew. Most of the roses in the United States for a long time have been on a Dr. Huey hybrid rose root system, because Dr. Huey rose root systems grow vigorously and work really well. There's about half a dozen that are commonly used, but Dr. Huey is probably the most commonly used. But in the southern part of the United States, especially in Florida, the sandy soil and the warm temperatures, Dr. Huey doesn't grow as well. So there's a new variety of root system down there that's called Fortuniana. It's hard for me to say, but it's a very vigorous root system, and it's not only grows well in the warmth, but it also is resistant to fungus diseases and nematodes, which Florida has. And so you get a much better rose if you have the Fortuniana rootstock in those areas versus the Dr. Huey. Now the Fortuniana is not a cold hardy, and so if you go up to about zone 5, you can, in the southern part of the United States, grow Fortuniana, and in the colder areas, Dr. Huey. The Fortuniana is not going to grow in the north. Dr. Huey can grow into the south, but in the areas with nematodes and some of the fungus diseases, you're probably still better off switching over to the Fortuniana rootstock. Now, you don't have a choice, except that you have to go to the proper growers. These are David Austin roses, and there are both varieties of rootstock available on those roses. There's also ones on what are called their own root system. These are roses that were not grafted, so they come up and they branch out all on their own. Now, the advantage of a own root system is that if there's ever a cold spell that freezes the top and the root system still survives, you'll still get new shoots coming up from the root system that will be the old rose, and you'll have what you wanted in the first place. Whereas on the grafted roses, if the top freezes and dies, the root system may still survive and send up roses, but they won't be the type that you were looking for in the first place. So some people in the past who've had a cold winter and thought that their rose turned from pink or white to red thought it was really a miracle, but what it was the top died, and the Dr. Huey rose is a red rose, and so the root system sent up new shoots and you got red roses. You can grow them either way. I like the own root system ones, so I don't have to do as much work in the fall trying to protect the graft union from the cold. That's a spot that is more tender and has a lot of tissue growing around, together, trying to make the top and the bottom fit together, and so it doesn't always survive the cold as well. So there's more work to do to keep a northern plant grafted rose than there is if it's just an own root rose. So I like the own root roses, but I do grow both, and I just have to do a little more winter protection on the grafted roses. What you're going to look for when you look for roses to see if it's grafted is for a stalk that comes up and then a cluster of stuff on the side versus a natural flow of system of from the roots to the top of everything coming up through the one side or through the middle or whatever, however you want to describe it, but it's all one plant rather than obviously being something that was cut off and growing off to the side. This has been a greener view. I appreciate your watching. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.